Channel. So today I'm delighted to welcome Matt Hall, high performance business coach. Matt is someone that I've been following for a little while. We were introduced through a mutual friend, and today we're in Muscle Works in Bethnal Green, and what we're going to do is, whilst working out, we're going to talk about everything to do with high performance, how you can sort of hit that peak performance in your business and as an individual, and then branding and everything in between, right? So looking forward to it, Matt.
Best place to be. Let's get the endorphins flowing. Let's get some energy going. Let's talk about life. Sounds good.
Filled with 2 pre-workouts, so let's get into it. Let's go. So starting with performance, you know, mindset. You know, a lot of people talk about mindset as, you know, do you need to have mindset? Is it all about the output, peak performance? I mean, how do you kind of break down, if you're taking on a new client, for example, and someone's wanting to sort of really maximize their business, like what's the starting point? Is it mindset? Is it the performance of the business? Where do you start with them?
Always start with, where are you at right now? What do you want? What's the obstacles? What's stopping you getting there? And when we break it down, it's always the key foundations, it always stems to attitude, belief system. You've got to break it down and you've got to recognize, right, it's a very, very simplistic formula. Ultimately, what you want plus what you do is what you get. And that sounds so obvious, like it sounds stupid, like of course, that makes sense, Mark. But actually when you break it down, you look at people and you go, what do you want? I want to lose weight. What are you doing every day? I skip my workouts, I eat the chocolate cake when I shouldn't. And it's like, well, your intentions are not actually aligned with your behaviours, so they ain't going to get the result you want. Once we break that down and we go down to the basics, just make some slight shifts. Okay, well, let's just start getting you moving slightly different. Like if it's, I want to earn more money, but currently you're scared to sell or you don't believe in yourself, why is that? Break it down, go back to the basics, see where that belief's come from, and just start to make slight shifts. That's generally how it works, and for that reason, it means that you can help such a range of different people with a range of different goals. Mindset controls every outcome.
Well, one thing we're going to touch on, we're going to do a few more sets, but we're going to start talking about habits, because habits is a big one. So let's get into a few sets and then we'll cover off habits. Something that comes up a lot, especially when I'm talking to people and they say, Aaron, you know, how do I stay motivated? How do I get out there? Fitness, you know, spinning multiple plates. You know, when you, as an entrepreneur, you're sort of, when you're open to opportunity and you start taking on new things, you're like, there's not enough hours in the day scenario. So kind of those simple steps to begin with, how does someone actually manage being an entrepreneur? Because it's an extremely busy life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think for that reason, you've got to absolutely want it, you know? And what I mean by that is you've got to know, why do you want it? I think that's the important thing. And I know it's this cheesy thing you hear a lot in personal development of like, know your why. But when I work with people, what I find a lot of the time is their reasons for doing things are quite surface level. So what they don't realize is it stems back to like conditioning or influence of what everyone else was doing around them. And they don't actually want it. They just think they want to achieve it because it's what society suggests they should be doing, or what they saw their friends doing, or it's what everyone living their best life on Instagram seems to be doing, so I'll do that. So I think the first thing really is, if you're struggling with overwhelm and you've got everything going on and you're not actually enjoying the process, you feel stressed out with it all, break it down, recognise what do you actually want, why do you actually want it, and when you need to, once you know that, you can then start to break it back and go, well actually, I'm doing things that are just making me busy being busy. I can start to cut things back, and then now I know where to channel my focus. I can do what I call scheduling. I've got something I call, it's called the PDS model. Without going into it, very simplistically, start by prioritising, which is kind of what I've just said there. Break things down, get rid of stuff you don't need to be doing. Second thing is delegate, which I know a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're new to it, don't like doing, giving power to someone else or paying somebody else. But you've got to start delegating the stuff that A, you hate doing, or B, you're not good at, so that's self-awareness. And then the S stands for schedule. So rather than having a to-do list every single day, you want want to actually schedule what you need to do hour by hour. That enables you to take the pressure off, because you've sat down and you've thought, I know everything I need to do, and it's been given its allocated slot, it's been given its time. Now I know it's scheduled, all I've got to do is focus on this hour. I don't need to worry about anything else. I just be present in this moment, like we are now. All we've got to worry about now, this workout, creating this content.
Getting it done.
The rest of what I need to do, schedule for later. And that's a really powerful thing. I think too many people are just a bit scatty with it all. They're thinking about everything at the same time.
Which leads to like procrastination, because if you focus on one course until successful.
That's it, yeah, exactly that. So you get people just, they're overthinking, they get overwhelmed, then they procrastinate, then nothing gets done, then because nothing's got done, they now have even more overwhelm and they don't believe in themselves. So we've just got to break it down. Scheduling has been a game changer, not just for me. I mean, I started doing that probably 7 or 8 years ago. It's one of the most simplistic things that I give my clients, that every time they're like, Matt, game changer, literally.
So we are with Mr. Matt Hall, but at the same time we're training hard because we're trying to look like this. Talk to you about, Matt, is something that I'm a big believer in, is like batch work. So for anyone like in business, or again just trying to do stuff high performance, is maximizing and leveraging your time. So when I do things, I tend to do things in batch work. So first thing in the morning, it's the workout, it's the cardio, then it gets back in the office, phone calls, quick emails, and really maximizing my time. What would you say to people who are a bit scatty with things? Like we said before, how do they kind of break that down? How do you attack things?
So I think it starts with understanding your own personal kind of circadian rhythm. So one thing I had for years is I would just fight through feeling tired and just try and have the busiest days, be as productive as possible, and just try and ignore the way that I feel. What you find is you end up doing everything average. So I think what people should do is go to the basics, like look at your diet, look at your sleep, like test your sleep, figure out how much do I need, like what's a good routine for me. And then with that, start to recognize when do you have natural energy dips and when do you naturally feel more alert and more on fire. And then literally, as I was saying earlier about scheduling your days, schedule in alignment with that. So I know generally, early afternoon, I naturally have a dip. I'm not going to be starting to schedule there my highest, most important activities. I know that naturally between 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. that's my like go time. So I think it kind of ties on to what we were saying earlier, schedule your days, but do so in alignment with your natural rhythm so that you can optimize when you're productive, and when you feel shit, don't just like push through, because then that's going to make you more tired and have a knock-on effect. Like chill out, have a nap if you need to have a nap. And I think there's not enough quote-unquote gurus speaking like that. There's all this hustle 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Gary V style,
sleep when, and I think Gary V's spot on, but people only take his content surface level. They take snapshots and hear him saying, fucking work all these hours, And
then it's like burnout.
But then it's like, but actually he's saying he knows he can do that, and he loves that, and that's him living, authentic to him. He's not saying that's right for everyone else. What he's saying is, figure out what's right for you and maximize that.
But don't you find it funny? I think it's a case of people try and adopt these big influencers, multi-millionaires, people who have done really well, and they take in those segments of, well, they seem to be hustling all the time, but they don't realise that actually you're trying to adopt someone else's lifestyle. And like you say, this is what we're talking about today. It's a lifestyle, working out your routines, your peak performance, when you need to do cash flowing exercises to, winding down, getting back and replying. Something else, I think what we're going to do some more exercise, we're going to get into it, we're going to get a pump on, and then we're going to start talking about cut-off points, because that's really important. So we're going to get into it. Something that I think is really important, and I have these conversations all the time where people are making decisions beyond 7 o'clock, and kind of I suppose my view on it is that everyone has a wind down period. Mine is definitely, I'd say I start to plateau and fatigue around about 5:30. You know, as entrepreneurs, we always want to push through and do as much as we can because we're like, not enough hours in the day. Do you recommend people at certain times of the day that, look, come 7 o'clock, don't make decisions, switch off, regenerate?
So the thing I come back to every time is everyone's individual. And I also always say that life and business is seasonal. So you're going to have times where, you know, number one might not be your health because you've got to do what you've got to do. And there's a moment, and if you don't act on it, you're going to miss the opportunity. So I think for me, you're 100% right in what you're saying. It comes back to what we just discussed. Knowing your own body, knowing how to be most productive and not just burning yourself out because you think it's what you have to do. But equally, there's times where you've got to do what you've got to do. And I'm sure we've both had times like that in life and business where we can say all this and preach it, but the reality is, if you didn't do that ridiculous 18-hour day, if you didn't do those, you know, that 7-day week, you wouldn't have got what you got. But it's about knowing what season you're in, and it's about understanding, having the bigger self-awareness. That's not sustainable. It's not the optimum way of living. And exactly what you say, making sure, as much as you're going in, you're working hard, you're giving yourself that time to switch off and recover properly.
Yeah, you know, it's so important. You just said it there. We do go through those days where we work like 12, 13, 14-hour days, if not longer. But at the same time, if you are going to do those days, boy, you need to rest and recover on another day. Like, we need to switch off, because otherwise, I mean, it's just total burnout. And I think too many people, when they jump into business or jump into entrepreneurship, they're thinking, all I've got to do is hustle now for the next 3 years, 24/7, 7 days a week. And it's not like that, is it?
Well, I think as well, it's never been easy to work hard and smart, you know?
Yeah.
With the internet, and with the way that you can leverage different pieces of content, for example, if you're building a personal brand. Like, we know there's TikTokers that are 7-year-olds that are millionaires. So they haven't been grinding and hustling for 15 years. They haven't even been alive that long, right? So it is about understanding. You can work hard and smart. It's about having the right people around you, and having that greater self-awareness of, right, actually, yeah, I've got to go in, I've got to work hard, I've got to do long days, but what's going to make me better next week is, like you say, I'm then going to have a day off or half a day off or whatever. So again, everything's seasonal. Everything is just about, always comes back to self-awareness.
Yeah. Well, we heard it there. We're going to get into a few more sets, and then we're going to carry on this awesome conversation. Talk to us about your story. So how you got into the line of work you are now, and how you're helping others.
Very simply, I was an actor when I was a kid. Ended up in a band, and when I was 19, just by taking an opportunity, ended up setting up a company to manage the band. Within a few years, that went from me just managing me and my boys to having over 500 different acts on our agency and management. So I basically got into business as somebody who never had any interest in business. You know, back then it wasn't like you saw your Gary Vaynerchuk's and it looked cool on Instagram. Business owners to me were generally fat men in suits. It didn't look cool. I didn't want to aspire to be like that. But I saw an opportunity, took it, and basically had zero experience, so made every mistake you could make. Hired the wrong people, had to fire people, made a bit of money, lost a lot of money. But through doing that, over a decade, you learn through experience rather than learning from being in a classroom. Long story short, because obviously as everyone's is, it's always a long story. Got to a place where I was 27, girlfriend of 7 years and I split up, ended up getting really low, turned to alcohol, drugs, partying, went from one extreme to the other. The first extreme being really focused on work, to the other extreme being I don't care about work anymore because I've sacrificed so much. And what's it amounted to? My business was just surviving, you know. I was just like, I had a profitable job, but if I didn't work 7 days a week, I didn't earn money. I put on weight, I got chubby, and me and the missus split up. So then it went to the other extreme. I'm thinking like, fucking hell, you know, I'm coming up to 30 years old, what am I doing with my life? So that's when then you go down that whole self-sabotage, just out partying, drinking, fuck life, don't give a shit, what's the point in working? And that went on for a while, you know, and it was through that process that this sort of personal development, mindset stuff, started to be the answer for me. Naturally then, that just led me to setting up my podcast, learning from others, getting a mentor, getting qualified in NLP, and basically learning for me to be, a better version of myself. Naturally, the next step was to help others, and that's how I ended up being a coach.
Talk us through sort of what does your day-to-day look like? So in the morning, what does that look like from start to finish?
One of the things I found when I was working on myself is one of my highest needs. We have something that I coach called the 6 human needs that I got taught from when I did a course by Tony Robbins. And one of the main needs for me is variety. So I went through this whole idea of having these set morning routines. Now they all talk about it, having 10 hours of gratitude and working out and all that. And in principle, that idea is great. But now what I do is I have a general morning routine, which is generally get up early, get out early, get the body moving.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is all to play for, based on the day, based on the schedule. What I always say is have daily non-negotiables. So something every day you do that is good for your mindset, something every day that you do that is good for your body, and something every day that you do that is good for your business. And as long as you tick those boxes every day, it enables me to have a bit more of a flexible approach to my whole routine.
Yeah.
But generally, morning routine is about having some time for myself, because I always say you cannot give what you haven't got.
Yeah.
And it's important to work on your mental and emotional state before you start your day.
Having that schedule is key. For me, I do 10 minutes of pre-planning the night before. Do you do any sort of pre-planning on, your mornings or afternoons? How does that look?
100%. I always say, when it comes to scheduling your day, do it as the end of your quote-unquote working day. So as you say, before you go into that evening routine of unwinding, before you do that, plan tomorrow.
Right.
And I always allow about 25 minutes just to sit, plan it all, and then you wake up the next day, there's no thinking needed, just look at your plan and get to work.
So there we go. So having a pre-planned exercise that you do the night before. So for me, I just take 10 minutes, pre-plan, and then wake up, and it's just like reading your morning Bible. This is what you got to do, and just follow it step by step. Make it hard for you while you're doing your set, but typical client at the moment, who are you seeing come through the door and why? So what reasonings are you hearing that people want to work with you, build on their business, branding and mindset?
Biggest thing really, generally, is people lack clarity and they lack accountability. And I always say, there's no shame in that. As children, we have teachers, we have parents, we have all these kind of mentors in our life giving us clarity, giving us accountability, telling us brush your teeth. And as we get older, we take on more responsibility, we have more stress, we become parents, we become business owners, and we ask for help less. So the biggest thing I get is usually people that are already driven, they're already ambitious, they're already maybe onto something very good, but they're not managing themselves correctly, and all the things we spoke about, they're overwhelmed, they're exhausted, they can't see the next sort of step they need to take. And the biggest thing I help with is just giving them that chance to say, let's stop, let's think, let's realign with the vision, and let's look at where we are and make some slight shifts. For that reason, it means my clients are actually pretty varied. I've got a variety of different business owners, I've got beauticians, hairdressers, personal trainers, life coaches, a variety of different people, because ultimately the principles are all the same.
I think, do you know what? I think where life is so busy, it's a bit of a minefield sometimes, and I think sometimes where you get overwhelmed, you lose vision of where you need to go, and you knew what you wanted, and you want this, and you want that, and you want the end goal, but sometimes where things become a blur, you almost need that. It's like PTs. If you don't know what you're doing in the gym, you need a PT to say, right, just do this, do this, do this. And at the moment, we've got Mr. Nick Stubbs, who's guiding us through the workout, and sometimes you need those people. So huge points, huge value, take note. Yeah.
But at that one point in my mind, I was like, no, it's that way, and I only see that vision at that time. And I thought I looked good, and my missus saying, Nick, you look ill, and I'm like, no, I'm good, I've got abs, I'm ripped and shredded.
But also, you're still always looking for that little bit you can improve.
Of course you are.
So you're in incredible shape, but it's still not right, so you're still not happy. I competed last year. I know it's hard to believe right now. Last June I did a competition, PCA men's physique. Got a Brit final and I said, fuck that, I'm done. I'm not doing it. And I didn't actually go to the finals for the exact stuff you're talking about. It didn't feel good, you know, it affected my mood, depression, eating disorder, used to be binge eating, throwing up, all that sort of stuff. And it comes back to exactly what you're saying. It's about finding that happy medium, isn't it? That balance with your life.
Yeah.
So something we were just talking about just then as we were finished up the set, the three of us, was that when you don't have a reason why or you don't have clarity, you become a little bit selfish and almost obsessed about the wrong thing. So we were just talking about, you know, being in the gym, you know, we're kind of in the same position that I like working out because I know what it does for me after. It's like releases endorphins, gets me in a good headspace, but actually working out and staying on top of your fitness is, when you've been doing it for so long, is a little bit like, you know, what's next? But there is that stage that we all go through where it's, you know, you think that it's your life when actually a lot of things in business or entrepreneurship, it's about having clarity, isn't it? I mean, that's so important.
Yeah, I think in particular fitness can become very much physique obsessed kind of goal, and it's how you look versus how you actually feel. So for me, exactly what you've just said there, I don't really enjoy training, but I enjoy what it does for my mindset, for my clarity. I enjoy what it's about when it comes to, I don't want to lift that weight, but I'm going to overcome that excuses mentality and I'm going to lift it anyway. I don't like the fact it hurts, but I'm going to push through the pain barrier and I'm going to keep going, because then what that becomes is a transferable skill. Once you get used to that discipline in the gym, you can transfer that into business, you can transfer it into any of your relationships. So for me, the gym is about building your mindset resilience. For me, it's not a physical goal. For me, it's not based on how I look, it's based on, am I strengthening my mind? And as a result, am I becoming a more focused individual? Have I got more energy, more clarity? And am I being a better version of myself? That's what the gym's about. And I think where the gym can be counterproductive is where people become so body obsessed and it's all about physique. Because I know, as somebody who stood on stage last year competing, even when you're on that stage and you're in the best shape of your life, and for me, I got a Brit final invite, you still don't feel you look good enough. You're still comparing yourself. You're still looking at, their quads are slightly better than mine. And it's just such a small mentality, I believe. And I also think it's a damaging mentality, because if, when you stood on that stage, you're not happy, well, you ain't going to look better afterwards. Like when you've dieted down for 8-12 weeks, naturally you're going to put on a bit of fat again. What's going to happen to your mental health then?
I think you've hit the nail on the head, and it also comes back to time, return on time invested. You know, if you're doing it to become Mr. Olympia, you're going to get a financial benefit. You're going to get something back for your time. It's your business. So, look, little note to everyone: if you love your fitness, just make sure you get something out of it. And if not, you're transferring that energy and mindset into business, into entrepreneurship, breaking bad habits, and then hopefully bettering your life, which is, you know, what we're going to finish on in a minute. But enough talking. We're going to get into some more sets. That's nearly heavier than me, that. Cool, so we've just finished an awesome workout here at Muscle Works in Bethnal Green in London, and we've covered off some amazing topics. We've got to know Matt a little bit more, understand sort of that mindset, what someone needs to, you know, try and be the best entrepreneur. So just, I suppose, final words, Matt, you know, for anyone watching this who's thinking, right, I want to really attack the rest of the year, what kind of top tips would you give someone?
Biggest tip, get support. And that's not me just like promoting what I do as a coach, but for me, I think who you hang around with is a huge part in what you do. You're always going to be, even if it's subconscious, you're always being influenced by the people around you. So get yourself surrounded by people that support you, that encourage you, that push you, that motivate you, that inspire you, and that ultimately help you be a better version of yourself.
Yeah, amazing. To be honest with you, I couldn't agree with it more. I mean, the circle of five, well, not necessarily your circle of 5, but those that you are surrounded with, they are such an influence to what you do and your potential. And you know, you will limit yourself if you're holding yourself back almost by negative people and stuff like that. So Matt, it's been a pleasure to have you on my channel. We've done something a little bit different today.
Yep.
Where can people go to get in contact with you for Instagram or your business?
If they want to head to my website, it's richinsuccess.com, or find me on Instagram, Matt Hall Official.
Awesome. Well, for everyone that's watched so far, I really enjoyed this, Matt. So, and I hope everyone does too. And we'll see you all very soon.